4 board members here. Malcolm McNabb, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Brooke Moore,
Yep.
Matt Fee?
I'm here.
Okay, and I'll note if Tom comes on. I don't believe there are any changes to the agenda. The only announcement is that this meeting is being audio and video recorded. And our first licensing item is a request for renewal of seasonal liquor licenses. Amy Baxter?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And
Tom just joined. Sorry,
Oh,
Amy.
Yeah,
And
no,
note that Tom Dixon is now on. Tom, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead, Amy.
Thank you. I first have to say, I just looked at the packet and clearly I did a wrong save as on my AIS for seasonal renewals. The AIS is from last year. So, which it's mostly correct except for the licensees that are not renewing. The signage form is correct. So I apologize for that. That is my error. I obviously used last year and did not save correctly. So basically, it does outline that as the licensing authority, you must vote to renew these licenses every year. We did the annual liquor licenses in November. And the month of March is a renewal for seasonal liquor licenses, which are the licenses that are operational from April the 1st to January the 15th or a portion thereof. As we are in the middle of the month, they still have time. Things may come up in the next 2 weeks. I have 2 licenses that are kind of in flux. They may be transferred. So that is to say that we will likely come back with a possible change in possibly a non-renewal license. And as we have 6 weeks until our next meeting, we may do that request to have that signed off on a Wednesday meeting so we can get to the state in time. So that's just to say we still have time for renewals. During this month, they're required to sign off on their renewals, pay their fees, insurance, get all that set up and get their inspections set up. So those are the requirements. If they do not do so in March, as we did in annuals, they lose a license and they have to apply for a new one. So those are the rules. Currently, I submitted the list of renewals. Those are expected to renew with the exception of one non-renewal, which is the Green Gull LLC, which is DBA The Green. I'll note on that, they did not properly renew last year and then into this year have heard nothing from them. So I'm going to note on that the license was essentially abandoned. There was no communication to the town. It closed and we were not notified of that in any official way. So that will be the very least one non-renewal. In that, and let me see, in that, I think that is that. I will, and we also previously voted on the seasonal population rate. So that will remain a number of 9 of package store licenses in the quota for seasonals. With the non-renewal of the green, that means 1 is available. And I have 1 request for it already. So if we get an application for that, that'll go first. So any questions?
Anybody? Matt?
No, I'm fine voting on it because Amy's outlined well what the other possibilities were. So even though you pasted last year, I understand what you're talking about. So I'll make a move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor by roll call. Matt Fee?
Aye.
Brooke Moore?
Aye.
Malcolm McNabb?
Aye.
Tom Dixon?
Aye.
John Hill, that carries unanimously. Next up, we have the Nantucket Wine and Food Festival Charitable Foundation request for approval and execution of Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission charitable wine license application for festival events May 27th through 31st. I apologize. The dog is having a meltdown because of the storm.
Oh, I understand.
I'm gonna recuse on this. The Wine and Food Festival has made donations to the nonprofit that I chair the board of. So just in an abundance of caution, I'm out for this one.
Right. Okay, so This is, I'm gonna just clarify that this is not, a request for event permits. This is very specific on ABCC applications that must be filed, for charity fundraising license. It's a charity wine pouring license. A qualifying charity can obtain these licenses, which allow for the, safe sale and consumption of donated wine only. The location of an event with these licenses is limited to on-premise licensed establishments, or the charity's headquarters. If it is hosted at a facility, which it is here, that holds an on-premise license, a letter from that licensee acknowledging the receipt of donated wine for the event is required. We have submitted that. The Wine Festival has submitted that. There are 3 locations this year that they're requesting this license: Nantucket Hotel, Nantucket Inn, Nantucket Dreamland. So those signature forms are there. Also a note, we've discussed this in the past. Following the 2025 application, we received a notice from the ABCC that said, quote, charity wine partnerships require 51% of the funds to be donated to charity. Once the event is complete, we'll need a report and proof from the event host confirming that the majority of funds were donated to charity in order to issue future charity partnership licenses of this kind. We finally did get a financial statement, which we included. I don't see proof of where this went. I'm going to ask the ABCC about that. I know that the board requested to see this as well before they signed off on these for this year. So I submitted what we did receive from the wine festival. So any questions on these?
Matt?
Yeah, no, Amy, how do they define funds? Like, is it just the wine sales, or is it if is it a ticket, or is it everything? How do how does the
Yep.
ABCC want that delineated, and how is it audited or reported, or how does that all work?
Yes, so it is alcohol sales only. They do other retail sales, t-shirts, things of that sort, so that's not included. It is alcohol sales. This is the first time, again, that we received this information and request. It has been a little bit, I've asked for this multiple times and was told everything was fine and the ABCC was fine, but didn't receive anything in writing. So we finally requested from the state to hear if they'd received it, and they said no. So we did receive this. This is what we've received. I think there should be more. I'm going back to the ABCC to say, from my understanding, and I don't know if they're here, from my understanding, it requires proof. It's great to hear from Brooke. They have received funds, where these funds are going, and the audit and all that. So I will provide more information as I get it. I think there should be more, but it took a lot to get here. So I'll continue to do so. But the state is definitely on it. And I've communicated that with them as well, that the board would like to be informed of that information as well. So I'll keep on it. But yeah, that's what I received.
I have a follow-up, but Tom had his hand up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amy, so I assume that the 51% is a minimum of 51%. Is the board within its right to require more if we wanted to?
To be honest, I don't think you can require, and I would ask for legal advice on this, that it can be an absolute. I think you can request to see. I mean, it's up to you to determine if this is something you wish to sign off on, if this is something that you feel is benefiting the community. You're in that right. Whether the specifics of it, you can request a certain percentage. I would have to ask legal advice on that before I definitively say that. But I do know for most things, the local authority can request stricter requirements on most things. Obviously, we can't be looser than the state. But you have rights to ask questions on this and ask for further information.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'd like to see the full disclosure happen before we vote this. I'd like to see what the rest of my fellow board members think, but I think we're within our right to request that, and I'm a little disappointed we haven't received it.
Okay. Matt, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, Don, I'm sort of thinking the same thing. but do we have time to do that, Amy? Like, do we have time to make sure that that is correct? Look, the other thing I think about is if, if you're running an event and, you charge a lot for the food and then you go low on the wine, like, I want to know what the split, do we have the right to know what the split is? Is this charity wine license? What is the state? What is the intent of this? Is it to make a business that's sellable, or is it to make money from nonprofits and therefore we let, so I just think we really need to think about this as a community. And anyway,
Malcolm?
Yeah, I agree. I'm uncomfortable the fact that we don't have this information and it's been requested. And whenever that happens, I just get a funny feeling in my stomach. So I'm not ready to go forward at this point.
Amy?
Yeah, and I
Can we
agree,
put this
and
off?
that is for you. As far as timing, Matt, this is your decision, and this is information you want to see. I know Dina and Sean can attest to how many times we asked for it, and it was made to seem like we were doubting their what they were doing. So it was a bit of a struggle. I think it's helpful for you to say what it is that you do want to see that we can request. As far as timing's timing. If this is something you want to see, it should be something that's provided. We can certainly bring forth the signatures at a Wednesday meeting. Again, our next licensing meeting's in 6 weeks, so that's tough. If they can get this together in the next week to show it, then we can put it forth on a Wednesday meeting, and I communicate with the state what's happening, and they can certainly adjust. Generally, when they want it 60 days before, we always ask for this in February. So we can work through it. It's something you want to see. It's something that can be provided, and I'll work with the ABCC, and they can. I think they would agree with what you're requesting.
Matt?
Donna, yeah, I looked it up real quick online on AI real quick, and it is wine only. Presumption of revenue, ABC typically presumes that 65% of the total gross revenue comes from wine sales. So that's the override and the presumption. They have to have a written allocation of proceeds considered bona fide and reasonable. The law generally requires the majority of all proceeds, the net after reasonable expenses, be used for the nonprofit's charitable purposes. So there, this is AI, and it probably, it's probably telling me what I want to hear. It's reading my mind or something, but I just think it's interesting. So I would like that information.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so does someone want to make a motion to hold this for the information to come back on the next available Wednesday night after?
Yeah, so moved, Madam Chair.
Is there a
Second.
second? Okay, all those in favor by roll call, Malcolm McNabb,
Aye.
Tom Dixon,
Aye.
Matt Fay,
Aye.
Don Hill, aye. That carries unanimously 4-0 with Brookmore recused.
Thank you.
The AI is telling me I'm looking handsome with a beard, though, so so it has to be right.
Next up, we have the Nantucket Island Chamber of Commerce, a request for approval and execution of Massachusetts Department of Transportation, Mass DOT, event notification form for the Daffodil Parade and Sconset Tailgate Picnic to be held on Saturday, April 25th, 2026. And Part B, the annual request for the waiver of Chapter 54(1)C alcoholic beverages of the Code of the Town of Nantucket for the Daffodil Festival Tailgate Picnic in Sconset. Amy?
Dina. Hi. Thank you guys for having us back, or Happy New Year. I haven't been back since then. We are joined by the chamber. They are largely having the same event as they did last year and as they did 49 years before that. This is the 50th Daffodil. We've already had our event and public safety meeting. So we've met with everyone. We have those logistics ironed out. They're asking for a waiver of the open container law in Sconset as they have in previous years. And they're also requesting to execute the notification form for the parade, which goes down Milestone Road, as it is considered a state highway. So they're just asking for those two things from the board. This year we are including the requirement that there be a notification for the appropriate consumption of liquor. With that open container waiver, so clearly marked, I guess it's an open space, but entrances and exits for Sconset Main Street, where the open container waiver will apply to. And Amy can speak more to that if you have questions. Food service norms for the picnic in Sconset, as determined by the health department. People cannot serve food from their own picnics to others without a temporary food permit. And then clear communication for drone use, no drone zones, and public safety communication for anyone who intends to fly a drone during the festivities. So that is what we are asking for, and for any more questions regarding the festivities, we can go ahead and for the as well.
Thank you, Deanna. Brooke?
I was going to ask a general question of what changes you guys made based on lessons learned from last year or any years before. And it feels like Dina's already sort of outlined them to Pete and Bianca. Anything else that we can know that you're sort of shifting how you do things to make it a more controlled and make sure it's a really great event for everyone, minimize impact?
Yeah, obviously we rely heavily on the inputs of the public safety meetings that we have pre and post any event we do. We obviously try to carry things through. Public safety is kind of always the first one. So small changes like the fire department has allowed us to put a fire truck across the new street fork on Main Street in Sconset to prevent an accidental or otherwise, someone barreling down the road, causing a problem with a car. We've introduced more porta potties. We've ensured that, DPW has the comfort station open in Sconset. So those types of changes, increasing the trash cans, the volunteers for the parking, that's not just one, that's the evolution of a lot of, 49 daffodils, as Dina had mentioned, but Bianca can add anything else if we have.
Yes, well, I was thinking specifically the parking crew and the increased volunteer workforce that we were lucky to get, and hiring a parking crew has made a huge difference. We usually get about 10 people, and last year was our first year initiating it, and it made a huge difference. Additionally, we are in direct communication with a lot of our member businesses, just kind of reminding them about safe consumption and not overconsumption in their businesses, letting them know that, they are kind of the stewards of making sure that people don't go out into the community and are tipping all over themselves, because it kind of starts with them. I know that we don't have access to every restaurant or industry, but at least the ones that we do have access to, we're doing personal messages. And then of course, in our weekly newsletters, on the radio, in the Inquirer and Mirror, and in some current messaging, we will be reminding the community that while this is a fun event, it's also about, having safe and being, it's about the residents and the community first, and, the visitors. And it's all just having a good time without falling over ourselves. We don't need to be fighting. There's really no reason to come to an island and fight. Like, seriously. So I think that's kind of our messaging. Just like, no reason to act like a doofus when you're here.
MOT has also, the Mass Office of Travel and Tourism has also offered their communication outlets to help us spread kind of blog post messaging. So more conversational, like, hey, here's how to, the do's and don'ts and the Daffy Like a Pro, we can put out in a kind of a longer form story. And chopped up for social on the expectations that when you come here, you're, this is a privilege and an exciting, festival. And we want to help carry it for the next 50 years. So yeah, a lot of people on this call have had a hand shaping the festival to the appropriate level that it is. So thank you.
So I think it's come to Daffodil, but don't be a doofus.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
T-shirt.
Thank you. Just a few things that have been mentioned so far. The NERDA has also worked with the Water Commission to ensure that we have appropriate turnaround location and pickup and drop off location for the folks who are utilizing public transportation to get out to Sconset. That will help minimize a lot of the traffic concerns that we were having and congestion out in the center of Sconset. So that was really helpful last year, and that's carrying forward this year. And PD also helped coordinate that. Also, clearer markations for no parking zones as well for this coming year, just having a little bit more of those rollout tapes. I know public safety wanted to see more of that, and the chamber mentioned that they will be on it, so that's great as well. And then we're also going to be utilizing the town's communication channels to put out our don't be a doofus messaging as well. So
Just a, yeah,
Matt?
it's Matt, just a quick comment. Though some of the restaurants that I'm friendly with, their issues aren't that they're over serving, or they wouldn't tell me if they were, but they aren't, most of these aren't. So there's some that may, but most of the, sort of the high end are not over serving. The problem they're having sometimes on these holiday weekends is the people have already overserved themselves at the, at the festivity, at the wine, at the Daffy, at their own home with a party. And so they're coming in, already overserved before they even get to the restaurant. And so that's and how we deal with that, I have no idea. But I just think, this a lot of this isn't going to the restaurant and spending a lot of money on alcohol and being blind drunk. They're buying it from the package store prior. So, that's just something for us all to keep in mind if we continue to grow these things and the downtown problems continue to be increase. So.
Yeah, it's a fair concern, Matt. And obviously, our messaging, we have a Wednesday Daffy newsletter that goes out digitally. That kind of disclaimer section has gotten a little bit longer these years, which is great. And obviously, we've directed messaging too at retailers, reminding them that, unless they have a single day permit, they can't serve. And we know there's no single day permits because there aren't any for this weekend, for that particular weekend. So it's messaging all around. There's also that kind of behavior messaging, like the, don't be a doofus messaging. I think we're all talking about is really a call for increased personal behavior, changes. It's a hard thing to do. If anyone figures it out, let us know. But I think collectively, if we can get that kind of messaging out that like, it's really disappointing. We're not mad, we're just disappointed. Like, it's just so disappointing when we see cases of that. So we're with you. We want to do our best to encourage appropriate behavior and celebration, but not, overdo it. So thank you for the comments.
Thank you. Tom Dixon?
Yeah, I think thinking back to earlier daffodils that I've been at, it was really a family event about like dressing up and the cars and being out there. And I'm not.
Kind of lost you at I'm not.
Yeah, Tom, you're frozen.
I'm not what? Yes.
Pardon. I don't remember where I was, but I was saying I don't want to having internet problems. I don't want to pull the rug out from anybody, but I think that maybe some long-term thinking for this event could be that the open container waiver is possibly not a good idea. I think it should return to a family event. That's when I had the most fun. I think it's gotten a little out of hand. And I think everybody does a good job at trying to contain that as much as possible. Truly, I really do. But I'd long term, my own preference would be I'd like to see that.
Okay.
That
So Matt,
would be a conversation that we need to have sort of 3-4 months after and prep people for that and let them come in and argue why alcohol is necessary, But anyway, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
A and B, can we do them together?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so made by Matt, seconded by Tom. All those in favor by roll call, Malcolm McNabb,
Aye.
Matt Fee,
Aye.
Tom Dixon,
Aye.
Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Don Hill, aye. That carries unanimously 5-0.
So,
Thank
Don, to follow up with what Matt said, I think it behooves us to have probably an agenda item that is about the future of festivals on Nantucket and the intersection of alcohol and our festival culture.
Okay.
And have a robust conversation to see where the community wants us to be.
I would suggest we try and do it over the summer where the full population's present. Okay. Next up, Oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Next up, we have a hearing to address multiple violations for seasonal all alcoholic beverages restaurant license for Oswak Associates LLC, DBA Bar Yoshi, Terrence Noyes, manager for premises located at 21 Old South Wharf. Amy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this conversation continues from what we just had about an incredible culture shift in some of these events. And Stroll was one of them. So this is one instance. We may have another come up. Just overall, Chamber and all sorts of departments did a phenomenal job at these events. Any discussion here about how things get out of control is not a reflection at all on any of them. I just want to make sure that's clear. Everyone did a great job and are doing their best. So on Stroll Weekend, I'm just going to kind of go over what happened. Their representatives are here as well. We've discussed things prior, so we have kind of information on that as well. So we've all talked. So basically on Stroll Weekend, I just want to say, basically right now there's just me. I don't have a compliance person or someone else. Fire did a phenomenal job as well the week before, going out, doing inspections, making sure everything was set up right. They were there that day, kind of doing all of that pre-work, which is much appreciated. I myself was down with the police detail on Main Street just to help and be there and just to respond. I wasn't doing active compliance checks. It just wasn't possible to do all of them on my own. So I was downtown and available for responding to anything that came up. This was one of them. I received word from people I know sending me photos of what was happening in Old South Wharf. We'd had issues last year with finding out that alcohol was leaving the premises there. I spoke to the manager at the time, tried to clean it up. It was crazy, obviously. So fast forward to this year, and I received photos, which we've included photos in here of what was happening. So I'm going to just quickly go over what I witnessed and documented myself on Saturday, December the 6th. When I arrived, I obviously noticed on my way there a lot of plastic cups with seemingly alcohol on the streets. And leading up to this, what I found was that Bar Yoshi, next to their licensed premises in an area on Old South Wharf, were operating a mobile bar using their catering Van Yoshi, outside the approved licensed premises. Even if this had been parked within the approved premises, if they'd removed the tables and put that would still be a violation, as you can't just change your premises and have a bar when you have approved as a board seated dining. The bar service was not in a defined space at all. It was, as you can see in the photos, just parked there with a line. And the service area was not actively supervised by any staff members. Folks, and I sent a video, folks bought alcohol and walked around, sat on the benches elsewhere. I saw going out to the street. There was absolutely nothing or no one stopping them from leaving the area with alcohol. So essentially the alcohol was sold and served without any license. It's as if someone drove up and opened a bar. The alcohol was served in open containers. Customers were allowed to leave the area with an open container. And open containers were witnessed throughout the Old South Wharf retail area and on adjacent public streets. So that's what I documented and witnessed. I also, it's crazy down there. There's lots of people everywhere, right? So I went down to Slip 14, which is a very popular spot. It was great. They had a sign out says, "We have reached our occupancy." For this time, there was no line. There was people were dining. They were managing. They were managing in the same environment that these folks were operating in. So within all the craziness, they were doing absolutely the right thing. So it wasn't just some craziness that couldn't be managed. What I will say as well, some of the conditions and considerations of these violations is upon arriving at the premises, the license manager, Terry Noyes, was not there. I've often kind of come up with that. The staff that was there, and I apologized at the time, I did not take her name because I was a little bit overwhelmed at that. She was very, very responsive, shut it down, and asked if there was ways to legally do this in the future and all of that. It was a very appropriate response to the situation. So I will say she got, I think one of the owners was there. He was unaware of certain laws, which is fine. He's not the liquor license manager, but she, as a staff member, absolutely responded appropriately, and I appreciated that because it was a crazy moment. And they did have, and I think it's the same one, staff member attend our ABCC training session in May. So that is a plus for them too as well. As I've mentioned, there's a long history here of issues that have existed with this licensee and manager. It was clear that there was no one giving the operating staff the proper direction for this type of activity. There's a lot of folks there that are from other states. And so you need an actually active licensed manager that can communicate those things. In Florida, that might have been okay. In other places, so they need to have that active training. A liquor license manager is responsible for that proper staff training, and is liable for that and for understanding proper procedure for operations under Mass General Law and local Chapter 207 provisions. And as I noted here, the failure, I believe, was definitely at the manager level and the liquor license manager level. We put a lot of responsibility with that person, and that was a failure, and this was not the first time. So what I'll say before we turn it over to their counsel is in discussion with Ms. Bell, is legal counsel for Bar Yoshi. It was agreed that there would be, in this instance, what we requested is a change of manager, and commitment to staff training beginning immediately. This is something we think is absolutely positively needed and is appropriate under these circumstances. They also agreed to discuss ways to further define the licensed premises, apply for any variances in operations, and you can certainly decide whether or not that's appropriate. They must present the change of manager and plan for staff training for the April 27th licensing hearing. So all that being said, in our discussions, what we're recommending is twofold. Is the board consider a 2-day suspension. The suspension is recommended to be held in abeyance pending any further violations in the next year and with adherence to the aforementioned agreed upon conditions or any conditions the board wishes to see. The board can accept that or amend as you see fit. The timing of the suspension is determined by the select board, and traditionally we ask that they be served the same day as the violation because of obviously timing. So this is actually a recommendation that there be days closed would be for stroll weekend next year, unless they have no more issues, no more hearings, and change the manager and work towards staff training. So I think I did outline some of the laws involved here, if there's any questions. So I'll turn it over now for their counsel and for any questions.
Hi, I have two of the owners that are attendees. Is there a way to promote them so that they can be panelists as well? Erica? I don't know.
Hold on, Mark and I sent them links.
Oh, I don't know.
They can be. I believe I'm supposed to swear people in for this.
Oh,
And do we have counsel here?
we do not, no.
And we don't have the police chief here either.
No, this wasn't a police compliance check run by the
Okay.
yeah, so generally we would in those instances when we have witnesses. In this case, yeah, we probably should swear in. But yeah, it wasn't a police compliance check, so that's why I didn't include them.
Okay.
They weren't involved in that.
Okay. I think we haven't done this in a while, but I think that just anyone who's intending to give testimony should raise their right hand and swear to tell the truth to the, best of their recollection. Who
Yeah,
intends to speak?
I don't think either of them were actually, oh, Mark may have been there. Mark,
Yeah.
were you, oh, you're muted.
Okay, how's that?
yeah.
Okay,
We
Mark.
can hear you.
so does he have to take an oath?
Yeah, just, I mean,
Listen.
you two, Jesse, if you could just both
Yep.
raise your hands and, swear to tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help you God,
Yep,
something like that.
Me too.
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I didn't actually get the original license on this premises, so I don't have knowledge of what it covers. But I did meet with Amy. I represented them on a different licensing matter with Bagel Bar. But I did meet with Amy, and obviously the most significant change that they're prepared to make is the change in manager. And through that change in manager, they were going to take do a comprehensive review of the existing license and make sure that they understand and will communicate it to the rest of the staff exactly what they can and can't do under that license. And through that process, I think getting a new manager on board, they think they will have more proactive communication with the town licensing office going forward. If there's any questions about what they can do, they'd like to really strengthen that relationship. Then, and also through the process of reviewing what we have currently, Amy thought that there was other things that might need updating. So as she said, like storage areas, other areas that we may be able to capture under our lease, or that we, as far as seating, and just making sure it's accurate, basically. And then in going forward, increased education and training for all staff, making sure it's a mandatory part of the onboarding program for new employees, and better visual delineation of the licensed premises area outside, and increased management oversight, and potentially bringing on more reinforcements of the management team for high volume weekends like Christmas stroll and peak summer season weeks. So they are absolutely want to be compliant. And I think the change in management, through that, there will be an absolute commitment to going forward to, staying within the bounds of the license. And closing on Christmas stroll, obviously that is the big revenue weekend in December. So that would be financially painful for them. But I think they're willing to, live with the idea that, you would authorize that now, and knowing that they're sort of on probation over the summer, and provided no violations happen, that won't be imposed.
Okay.
I don't know if Mark or Rob wanted to add anything.
I agree with everything you said. Let's get things operating a little cleaner, and let's go from there.
Okay. Brooke, and then Matt.
So I want to be clear on who this new liquor manager will be reporting to, because I hope it's not the former liquor or the current liquor manager who has not done a great job at that, has not made great decisions, has not been particularly concerned about compliance in this instance and others. So I just want to make sure whoever is taking over the management of this license is reporting to someone who might make different decisions should they need to have a question answered.
So I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think that there's a change in the underlying ownership as well of the company. So they would be reporting to either Mark or Rob, who are on this call right now.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Matt?
I think what Amy, the recommendation Amy has is entirely appropriate and probably, probably more lenient than it would be if we had not had a recommendation and talked about it for, 45 minutes. But I think it's entirely appropriate, and I think that I will make a motion to approve it.
Okay, just Malcolm,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I just,
the motion for a second.
I want to think about the concept of the abeyance. Could someone convince me that's the right thing to do as opposed to not having it held?
I mean, I would say this is something we've commonly done. It's like a probation. It goes into effect if there's another mistake made. Yes, I mean, we could also do one day where they're closed and one day in abeyance. There are other options.
Right.
But I mean, I would assume that if we tell them they can't serve liquor on stroll weekend, they're probably gonna close before stroll and just not even be open. Matt?
Yeah, Don made my point, which is that if they're back in front of us, it's going to have been something else that happens in the summer, and then we consider, those 2 stroll days and whatever day or that they did as the next thing. So we'll have, depending on if it's, a minor thing, whatever, but if it's not whatever, but if it's a minor thing, we don't have to, but if it's if it's anything, we could say, okay, we're going to close you for those 2 stroll days and the other day. So the select board has the authority and the ability to, make sure that it isn't something that's easily skirted. And I don't believe that, my guess, this has come to a head and that they know and will be fine now is my impression, but.
Brooke? And then Amy?
So I would like to understand, so we have a change of ownership, and hopefully a new slate, right? So I do agree with holding both days in abeyance. I want to ask how automatic the application of the enforcement of those days, is it with any other, is it automatic, or do we have to go through this whole process again while they're held in abeyance? Because I just want to make sure that, I would be inclined to say for any complaint against their license, they're automatically going to lose a day. And then we would discuss the second day, depending on how egregious the issue is, but literally like 0 tolerance for the first day, and a discussion about the second day coming out of abeyance and being applied is kind of where my head's at, but I don't know procedurally whether that's possible.
Yes, if I may, next, am I on? Okay.
Yes.
So,
Amy, sorry.
yes, Brooke, any conditions you wish to apply, and I think, so this has been a challenge. This has been a location, it's been a challenge, on and off over the years. So this was something I think that we really wanted to see. I think better communication and more responsibility. I think this has brought us there, and it's something we want to see. There would definitely be a lot of eyes on them on that. You also have ability to question, the liquor license manager. Any alteration of the premises can come up where you put stricter conditions on it. So there are areas there. Anything that does come up will be reported to you immediately upon it happening. And you can make the determination or set a hearing should you wish to do. So we're committed to that as well and working with them on that. So that's kind of where this came out of, is wanting to get to a place. It's a good location. They, generally have good staff and operate well and want to kind of get to that place. We think this was a failure at a certain level. And, it's a tough to get through the summer without maybe crossing some lines. So, it's not as easy we're not letting them off the hook in any way, but looking to work with them to kind of bring forth a better situation. So if that helps.
Okay, thanks. Jesse?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand. I mean, if there is a subsequent violation, would we then have the opportunity, because not knowing the circumstances of that violation, right? Like, if we don't feel like it was justified or whatever, like, you know, we would want to have the opportunity to come and speak to that at a future hearing. So, so it's sort of, I know we're kind of linking the two things, but want to make sure I'm preserving that right.
Yeah, we would have to determine that it was actually a
Right.
violation. Yes.
Right.
Brooke?
So let me just make sure I'm clear on the process. We would have to go through the whole hearing process to determine that the new violation is a violation, and then we apply the days. So there's not, as I said, automatic in my mind was without a hearing, but we're saying we're actually going to have another hearing to determine whether the new violation is determined a violation, and then we impose the days in abeyance after that hearing, as opposed to having them in abeyance and having some administrative way to apply them without going through the hearing process is my question, process-wise. And we may need to consult counsel on that, but
I don't see how we could do that without making a determination that it was actually a violation. And depending on how egregious the violation was, we could actually apply a further penalty. Correct? Okay, Amy's shaking
Correct.
her head, yes.
Yes. Yes, that's correct. They should always have the ability to speak for themselves or answer any sort of question. So, yes.
Malcolm?
Yeah, okay. I can go with the original concept as long as the process is rapid. In other words, if we had to have a hearing, we'd do it on a Wednesday night and not wait, say, 6 weeks for the next licensing meeting. As long as it goes quickly, I can support what the majority of the board wants to do.
Yeah. The chair will work with licensing to get the most expeditious date. Tom?
Is the change of owner and change of manager coming to us in the relatively near future?
The goal
Okay.
is the next meeting,
In April.
your next licensing meeting.
Okay. Oh, Tom, you froze again. I hope that answered your question. So Matt had started to make a motion. Matt, do you want to restate that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the recommendations from Amy.
Is there a second? Do we have to close this hearing?
It's not a public hearing.
Okay, just making sure. I don't remember this exact process. Okay. Is there a
Sorry,
second?
the thing says, after all the testimony has been taken and all questions from the board answered, a motion should be made to close the evidentiary portion of the hearing.
Okay.
And then once closed, there should be no further testimony or documents accepted.
Okay. So Matt, could you make a motion to close
Yeah, I'll make a motion to close the evidentiary.
evidentiary? Is there a
I'll second that.
Okay, made by Matt, seconded by Brooke. All those in favor by roll call. Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Malcolm McNabb,
Aye.
Matt Fee,
Aye.
Tom Dixon,
Aye.
Don Hill, that carries unanimously 5-0.
Um,
And then Matt, oh,
It says the board should deliberate in open session and make a decision. A decision consists of two parts, findings of fact and the action taken by the board, and both must be in the written decision to be found satisfactory by the ABCC. An
Matt?
example would be, I recommend that any findings of fact be made by motion. I move that the board find that on whatever date the license violated whatever chapter it is by serving alcohol, whatever it is. So it has to be specific.
All right, well, I'll make it again based and just reference the date that was in the packet and the violations that were proven in the packet. That's our evidence. So I'll make the motion referencing those and ask that that be written up and submitted by town council or staff, whoever is appropriate.
Okay, does that sound sufficient?
So,
Is there a
so
second?
as I hear it, I'll second it, and just repeat for clarity for myself, just to make sure that we are moving that the evidence presented in the packet of the violation on the date noted in the packet, we find that it was a violation, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll second that.
And are we, okay.
And the action you plan to take, which is the 2 days held in advance.
Oh, I thought we were going to do them as
Yeah,
second.
that's what I wasn't sure.
I-
Can we do
okay.
all as
Yeah.
one?
I did it. I done it all as one.
Okay, so we'll do it all as one. Okay, Brooke, are you good with that as your second?
Yeah. And we will hold assign 2 days in advance. Yep.
Okay, all those in favor by roll call, Malcolm McNabb,
Aye.
Matt Fee,
Aye.
Tom Dixon,
Aye.
Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Don Hill, aye. That carries unanimously 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with the transition, and we
Thank
hope
you.
we don't see you here again.
Hey, I
Thank you very much.
agree.
No offense.
Okay, next up, we have 2 public hearings that we need to open just to continue them. These are for the dive. It's for their common vic and liquor, and then for their entertainment. So I will open the public hearing on number 1. Can someone make a motion to continue that to April 27th, 2026?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor by roll call, Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Malcolm McNabb,
Aye.
Tom Dixon,
Aye.
Matt Fee,
Aye.
Don Hill, that carries unanimously 5-0. And then on number 2 for the dives entertainment, I will open that public hearing, and can I have a motion to continue that to April 27th, 2026?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Okay.
Second.
Who's second? Okay. All those in favor by roll call, Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Malcolm McNabb,
Aye.
Tom Dixon,
Aye.
Matt Fee,
Aye.
Don Hill, aye. That carries unanimously 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. We'll move on to utility petitions. Number 3, public hearing to consider a utility petition for Nantucket Electric Company, National Grid. This is pole 11 on Surfside Road down the boulevard at the intersection of Lovers Lane.
I'm going to go ahead and
Aye.
review this. So, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but this item has already, just so everybody knows, been installed. This area was experiencing severe outages and frequent outages, and so town administration gave National Grid permission to move forward with this work pending this petition. And Matt Long from National Grid is here to also review and answer any questions.
Okay, Matt, do you have anything to add to that?
No, yeah, work has been done. Just
Okay.
pole install and conduit system install to maintain the current system.
Does the board have any questions? If not, let's make a motion.
Move to close the,
public hearing.
Second.
so moved.
Okay, so made by Brooke, seconded by Tom. All those in favor by roll call, Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Malcolm McNabb,
Aye.
Tom Dixon,
Aye.
Matt Fee,
Aye.
Don Hill, aye. That carries unanimously 5-0. Could we have a motion to approve?
So
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
Okay, made by Malcolm, seconded by Matt. All those in favor by roll call, Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Malcolm McNabb,
Aye.
Tom Dixon,
Aye.
Matt Fee,
Aye.
And just to clarify, I'm assuming the motion to
Don
approve
Hill,
is based on
sorry.
departmental comments.
Yes.
Yeah. Next up, we have number 4. This is a public hearing for National Grid for pole 45 Hummock Pond Road down Somerset Lane, ending at an existing junction MT1 on Somerset Lane. I'm opening the public hearing.
So we have Matt Long here from National Grid, and I just wanted to say we also have Kevin Manuel, Drew Patnode, and David Gray. David is the sewer director, Drew is the DPW director, Kevin is our project manager, to also offer commentary on this. Matt, go ahead.
Yes, so again, we are just requesting to maintain existing cable by replacing with new cable and a new conduit system.
Okay. Brooke?
Do,
Oh, sorry, Erica?
no, I was gonna say, should we open 5 as well, since it's essentially the same project, just broken into
I-
2 parts, so we can have the discussion as
I was wondering about
as
that.
one?
Okay, so before I go to the board members, let's also open the public hearing on number 5, which it is another piece of Somerset Lane, 31 Somerset, 35 and 40 property lines of 35 and 40 Somerset. Brooke?
Yeah, so I saw, I mean, obviously there's a major sewer project, in the works and being planned for this location. And I saw all the notes from the different departments, which is great. Coordination, critical, making sure that they're not doing something that's going to interfere with anything planned to be installed in this major project. But my more immediate concern is that somebody's echoing. I don't know. Is that me? Anyway, that we don't degrade the condition of that road any further than it is already degrading as we've awaited this major project. And I don't know whether that's been discussed. So I don't know who from the town might weigh in on the impact of this to the current road condition and how that might be mitigated.
Is that for Kevin? Or for Drew?
Madam Chair, I defer to Drew on the condition of the road.
Yeah.
Drew?
Thanks. Yeah, I'm happy to speak to that. Obviously, if anybody's driven it recently, it's certainly not in great shape as currently. I struggled to see how the trenching and the repaving would tie into the existing pavement. Again, as Brooke noted, there's a big sewer infrastructure project planned for this area. We've done some kind of Band-Aid type improvements to Raceway Drive. I know David's done some drainage work in the area, but we don't have any plans to pave that in the immediate future as we await, the outcome of the appropriation at town meeting and, subsequently the project moving forward. So my understanding from the plans, the plans are fairly limited, shows the trenching happening in the traveled way in the pavement. So I do obviously share the same concerns as far as the existing condition of the roadway.
Matt?
Yeah, there was, on both of these, it said something about sewer concerns. And I was wondering what those are and if it's the placement of it. Do we have the ability, I'm assuming, to ask them to put it in a certain area? And so have we done that? So what are the concerns and, have we directed where it goes?
David?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I brought up the issue and, well, the concern that any work that they do now will most likely end up being in our way when we come down the road and will have to be moved again. The sewer project and drainage and roadway project is pretty expansive, and it's going to cover full width of the road and then some. And I think wherever they wanted to go is going to definitely impact where we end up going, and will have to most likely be removed. That was my biggest reason for bringing it up, that you can put it in, but eventually it's going to have to be moved again.
Yeah, and a follow up on that, Don, is my question is, could we put it to one side or the other of the travel way so we don't repeat it? Can we request that? Or of not even the travel way, of the
layout.
Layout. Thank you. There's the word I was
Yeah.
looking for.
I think the question still is, and maybe Drew or Kevin can jump in and help me, is placement of the bike path is still being discussed fully. If the bike path ends up being, oh yeah, we're going to put it on this side, but then now it's going to be in that way. So I don't think we fully know. I know we have some preliminary plans that show where most of our work's going to go. And I know Kevin and us have all discussed this during some of our meetings, and that's why I had asked, was this a critical need to be done right now, or could it wait until we moved along with the project?
Sorry. I have 4 hands up. Erica?
I have a question for National Grid. Is this proposal basically like kind proposal? Are you putting in infrastructure where it already exists?
Correct, yeah, so it'll be in and along the existing. Also, with the current pathing, would have the least impact on the existing road.
Thank you.
Kevin?
Just to speak to David's point, the location of the multi-use path has largely been agreed to by the project team. There are still some easement considerations that need to be determined and figured out. My biggest concern, to carry off David's comments, is just timing with this. And I apologize if it was in the agenda pack and I didn't see it with the petition, but the proposed timeline for National Grid's work, because if we do receive approval at town meeting this year, I mean, we do hope to kick off work on the roadway within the calendar year. And so, to David's point, having to go back and move it after, once we begin our work, would be troubling.
Drew?
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just echo what Kevin said. We have a very clear preliminary alignment for the bike path, which is the west side of Somerset Lane, the entire length. But of course, nothing is set in stone yet. I don't know where the sewer project, like the sewer design is, as far as like 60%, 90%, and whether the new infrastructure is going to impact that. I don't know if I see that what's being proposed by National Grid would have to be reinstalled yet again, but I have some concerns about what it would do to the contractor's ability to install the sewer lines in Somerset Lane. We're seeing this right now on the Surfside area transportation project, trying to get drainage installed. And what inevitably happens with a lot of these town infrastructure projects is there's existing utilities, and then whether it be sewer or drainage, it's kind of the last thing installed in the roadway. And just makes it a lot more challenging and at times much more costly for the town to do these installs. So I just want to throw it out there. I don't know how amenable the group would be to this, but obviously the project moving forward is subject to approval at town meeting. So I don't know if this is something we could follow up on after town meeting when we have a better understanding what the town's timeline is for the project and how critical National Grid's infrastructure improvements really are.
Okay, I mean, it sounds to me like maybe we should just continue this till May. Is that feasible? And have some more internal discussions? Brooke?
I would definitely, I think that's definitely what we should do, unless National Grid can make an argument for the critical nature of this needing to move it forward sooner. That would be my preference.
Matt, did you want to respond to that?
Yes, depending on the critical, I will have to do some extra research on exactly how critical we will need it. But shouldn't have an issue pushing.
Okay.
So Don, maybe we should continue it to April, so Matt can do that research, and then we with the expectation that we'll roll it again till May after town meeting.
Yes.
And then okay, so
will you make that as a motion for 4 and 5, that we continue the public hearings to
3 and
April
4.
7th? Oh, I'm sorry, 3 and 4.
Yeah, I move that we continue the public hearings for the Somerset Lane project.
No, you're right, 4 and 5.
Okay, numbers 4 and 5 for Somerset Lane project, National Grid project, to the April hearing.
Is there a second?
Second,
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Made by Brooke, seconded by Matt. All those in favor by roll call. Brooke Moore?
Aye.
Malcolm McNabb,
Aye.
Matt Fee,
Aye.
Tom Dixon,
Aye.
Don Hill, that carries unanimously 5-0. Last up, we have number 6. This is Surfside Road, Gladlands Avenue. I'm opening the public hearing.
Yes,
Matt?
so yeah, once again, for National Grid, we are requesting to maintain existing cable and replace cable with a new conduit system, as well as replacing pole 7 and pole
Questions?
19.
Comments? Is there a motion to close the public hearing? Oh, Matt?
Yep, move
You
to.
have a public comment.
Oh, we have
Oh.
public comment.
Can I let her speak? Sue Genthner?
Yep, Sue Gensler.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Sue.
Okay, I was just calling in. Thank you for your time. I know scheduling in the time frame of this kind of work is difficult to predict, but I was wondering if National Grid would know. I'm directly across from Gladlands, when the work might start and how long it might take, and perhaps a contact person to get a schedule update.
Yes, we can absolutely give you a approximate timeline, and we'll obviously reach out when work is going to start several weeks beforehand, and I can also get you a contact as well.
Okay, are you thinking it's going to happen this spring or into the fall?
It is possibly into the fall, but depending on petitions that we have had as of recently, it could be this spring, depending. But
Okay,
I can also, I apologize for not having all the information for you. I can get you a contact and
that would be
get all
great.
that information for you. Yeah, of course.
Terrific. Thank you.
Sue,
So
why
will
don't
that
you
go through Erica?
email my office?
Sure.
Email me at the office, and that way I'll have your contact info and we can connect you.
Great. Thank you all.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, made by Matt, seconded by Brooke. All those in favor by roll call, Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Malcolm McNabb,
Aye.
Matt Fee,
Aye.
Tom Dixon,
Aye.
Don Hill, aye. That carries unanimously 5-0. Is there a motion to approve
Motion to approve with departmental comments.
and notice to Sue Genthner as requested?
Second.
Second.
Made by Tom, seconded by Matt. All those in favor by roll call, Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Malcolm McNabb, Matt Fee,
Aye.
Tom Dixon,
Aye.
Don Hill, that carries unanimously 5-0. Matt, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, before we lose the other Matt, I wanted to just ask if he has heard anything about, and it's not on the agenda, but has he heard anything about the meter reading issues that we're having as a community? And can he give us the right person to contact to find out about that?
I have the person to contact for that.
All right, because a lot of people, we're getting a lot of input on that now. So, all right, thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Made by Brooke, seconded by Matt. All those in favor by roll call, Matt Fee,
Aye.
Malcolm McNabb, Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Tom Dixon,
Aye.
Don Hill, aye. That carries unanimously. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.